living. Crypto is on the rise, making that dough in the crypto paradigm. Watching it go, buying low, selling high. Riding the wave, I'm here to stay, living in the digital age. No banks, no fees, just decentralized. It's crypto paradise. Ooh. No banks, no fees.
Alrighty, good morning from Paradise Surfers. Happy Friday, everybody. It is a beautiful day here in paradise. I couldn't be happier. Two incredible things have been transpired in the course of the last 12 hours. First, my Eagles won in a squeaker. Weird game. Started with a spit on a quarterback. We won't get too deep into that, but it was a weird one, but we won, so I'm happy. Second thing, maybe more importantly, the job numbers just came out, and as we expected, bad. The worst job numbers, the highest unemployment since October of 2021. 4 years. We haven't had job numbers this bad. Why is the market running? Well, this means that the Fed has to cut the rates. The only question now is 25 basis point or 50. So I'm super pumped. Happy to be here. We got some good stories to cover. The Bitcoin Strategic Reserve train is not slowing down. We'll go over the charts. I mean, there's a lot to get into today. Happy Friday, Nick. Did you watch the game yesterday? Did you see the spit heard around the world?
Yeah, so we went ahead and, bet the money line on the Eagles like we said we were. So if you took that bet, hey, that's why you tune into Crypto Paradise. You made some money on that. Really exciting game until, there was that lightning delay and then everything went slow. I don't think a single point was scored after that or maybe one field goal. So pretty boring after that happened, but Eagles still squeaked out the win, made some money on that. And, the NFL season is upon us. So maybe we'll get you guys some more picks mixed in there along with the crypto and stock picks that we give you every day.
Why not? Why not? Who knows? Maybe I'll start to get into sports gambling. I've always been against it, but, just for fun.
A couple dollars here and there,
$50 there. Why not? I know a lot about football, so who knows? Maybe I'll make a little bit of money.
It makes it a little more interesting to me. You don't have to bet the farm. I don't want to create degenerate, sports gamblers who are going all in on stuff. It's just like when we give a call, like we gave a call in the alpha group called Rome. It was at 15K market cap. It's at like 70K market cap now. You don't go all in on those things. You don't drop 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 bucks into those things. You put like 0.1% of your portfolio or 1% of your portfolio into these things to see if you get a chance of hitting it big. And that's how I look at sports betting. You put 10, 15, 20, 50 bucks on these things, maybe make a little bit of money, makes it a little more interesting to watch. If you're going to sit there and watch, get your adrenaline pumping a little bit. And if you do your due diligence, you have a little education, you can make a little bit of extra money on that, buy yourself a bottle of wine, take your wife out to dinner or whatever it may be.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm getting convinced. I want to hear from the audience, though. Because I know we got a lot of Europeans. They don't know squat about NFL. We got people probably tuning in from Asia, all around the world. No one knows about NFL except Americans. But we do want to hear from you guys. Do you want us to talk about NFL or sports in general? Obviously not the entirety of the show, but here a little bit here there. Maybe give you guys some insights, some picks, as it were. We want to hear from you, see if that's interesting, or maybe just stick with the memes and the various cryptos that we talk about.
Just got I'm trying to share the YouTube link more often. Obviously, on Twitter, I quote tweet the Twitter link, but now I've been posting the YouTube link in patreon.com/learncrypto and in the private Discord. Try to get some more people in that chat box. Obviously, we get hundreds, thousands of people on Twitter that watch the videos, but still just a handful of people on YouTube as we are predominantly active on X. But we're trying to get more active on YouTube, try to build up the algorithm. So if you're over there, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Leave comments. If you're on Twitter, do the same thing. Let's keep growing this community, because when the community grows, that means we can give more money back to you guys. We can dump more money into the surf token with buybacks and burns, which helps you guys. And of course, the Paradise Pads keeps the lights on, which means that you guys can go down there and use that condo down in Tulum, Mexico. We can have retreats. Pretty much, if we win, you win. That's how we're playing the game. That's how we've been playing the game since 2017 and 2018.
That deserves a cheer. I'm not ready for the cheer. Let's just see. Okay, here we go. Here. Absolutely. If we win, you win. Truer words have never been spoken. And case in point, just yesterday, some of the revenue or income that we've generated through various partnerships that we've done with, like, say, Emit Farms or Vox Farms. These are DeFi plays on Pulse Chain. We've been able to do partnerships with them where they've given us a bit of tokens, right? Paired them up with a surf. We've deposited them into various staking pools or farming pools. And that's generating, I don't know, $500 a week minimum. And then we went ahead and we did a buyback yesterday, because why not? Market was a little slow. Surf price down. I like buying low, so here we did. We did it. You know, this is interesting because the buyback was actually over $500. The buy bot here that you're seeing only captured a portion of that because it only looks at the PLS route. So if some of the buy gets routed through like PLSX surf pair or wherever else, I mean, surf's got like 12 pairs. If it goes through any of those other pairs, it does not get captured here. But it was a $500 buyback. We have over 100,000 surf now sitting in the wallet, which has been bought back and ready to be burned. We are just waiting on the dev to do finishing touches on the dashboard so we can do the one-click burns and do some marketing around that. So, yeah, if you guys watch and you like and you subscribe and share, that helps us get marketing deals, and the money that we make from the marketing deals, part of that gets turned around and turned into surf buybacks and burns. So that's how we all win together.
Yeah, this was pretty cool to see. This is a good style tweet, and hopefully we can get more of those. A tweet like this on a weekly basis and having those burns weekly would be great for Surf token holders, great for the brand, and just a great data point here. And it is interesting. This is the power of the liquidity web. You did a $500 burn or a $500 buy, and only 310 goes through Wrap PLS. The rest gets spread out to get the best possible execution. So that means that over 40,000 surf were bought and going to be burned there. And I mean, that's massive at these price points to try to decrease the supply, buy up the supply, get that supply control when prices on Pulse Chain are so cheap right now. Now we are going to start with a chart, a different chart than we normally start with, the gold chart. Now, Nick, why are we doing that? This is about Bitcoin, crypto, and life-changing games, not little Peter Schiff 10-year gains. Well, that's because gold did go to a minor new high with the expectations of rate cuts coming. But what's more interesting, the big news article, our friend, the president of El Salvador, bought $65 million worth of gold. Now, I might be off on the number, but I think it was $65 million worth of gold. And why is that interesting? Well, for each and every day since like 2023, he has been buying 1 Bitcoin a day, every day, regardless of the price. That is the ultimate Chad dollar cost averaging we've ever seen in Bitcoin. But now he just bought gold. And I replied, well, he should have bought Ethereum instead of gold. I think Ethereum is going to far outperform. He's got the Bitcoin strategic reserve going. Why not buy Ethereum? But he decided to buy gold. And interesting timing. I guess, you know, there is still demand. We see that the price in gold is going up. Maybe they're trying to solidify their spot with the gold standard and the power at B with all the countries who hold gold. But in my opinion, the same target applies. We were talking about it down here that gold looked like it wanted to break out and head towards 3,900 to 4,000. Well, it broke out and it's at 3,584. I still think the short-term top will be $39,000 to $4,000. I don't think it's a great buy, especially for many of us. If you're only talking about you have a couple $1,000, I don't think you have big gains in gold left. But interesting move by the president of El Salvador. What do you think about it? Do you think he should have bought Ethereum? And I think he's going to get some little peasant gains on the way up to $3,900.
He definitely should have bought Ethereum or anything other than gold. Not that I have anything against gold, but I mean, it's the most valuable asset in the world. Talk about buying the top of the top of the top. Like, you are buying the top of the most valuable asset in the history of humanity, now probably a $23 trillion market cap, dwarfing every other asset, including the likes of Nvidia, Microsoft, of course, Bitcoin. Ethereum's way down there, like 500 billion. So, you know, I guess it's cool. Gold's cool. It's shiny. It's rare-ish. People like it. It's going to continue to go up. I mean, don't get me wrong.
24.4 trillion.
Reach $4,000, and then probably even go beyond that. So, I mean, sure, if you got a long-term time horizon, I guess he took money that he collected in taxes, or maybe they printed money out of thin air because it's a fiat currency, use it to buy gold. Okay, that's not bad. But definitely should have bought Bitcoin, or should have bought Ethereum, should have bought anything else on this list here other than gold.
24.4 trillion. That means Bitcoin is more than a 10x away from even achieving gold's price point. This is what we talked about. We're always like, look, Bitcoin is relatively expensive compared to Ethereum or other altcoins trying to change your life, but Bitcoin can 10x just to match gold. And the thing was, we said gold can keep inching higher, which means now gold broke out. Bitcoin didn't break out. Now you need an 11x. in Bitcoin to get to the gold price. So this is how this works. This is how the monetary system works. And when everything is valued in the dollars and the dollar value continues to go down on the right, that's how you get these massive upside objectives on the good assets. You know, we were early to talking to you about NVIDIA, AMD, Bitcoin, gold, Ethereum, and some other ones on this list. I already mentioned AMD. That's somewhere on here. Alibaba, we were early talking about that. So, I mean, the sky's the limits on these things. Obviously, we want to pick the best possible investments to win the hardest in the shortest possible time. I personally not a huge believer in gold at these valuations. Like I said, the technical analysis tells me 3,900 to 4,000 is a short-term top. But the technical analysis also tells me that we can see a double up in Bitcoin and potentially a 5x or a 10x in Ethereum. So do what you will with that information. Position yourselves. Good to see green candles nonetheless. Because although we're not big on gold, I have gold jewelry or whatever, gold going up solidifies price of Bitcoin going up, because why? Bitcoin is now seen as digital gold, a scarce asset, just like that of gold, a hedge against inflation, a hedge against the system. So gold going up does help crypto sector and the crypto economy as well, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not even an opinion, it's a fact. I mean, it's highly correlated. When gold goes up, Bitcoin follows in a matter of months. I think it's like a 1-2 month lag, and then Bitcoin is going to jump beyond its previous all-time high. That's like a documented, demonstrated, provable thing with the charts of gold and Bitcoin. And it makes sense because one's gold, the physical version, and one's digital gold, the digital version, right? So it just, you know, the two things are correlated. One runs and the other one's going to run too. Maybe Bitcoin a bit more sensitive to rate cuts, right? And that's maybe an interesting segue to, you know, the title of this live stream here, which is that, is this the start of Bitcoin's run to 130,000? And this, by this, I mean these dismal job numbers that just came out, right?
Do you have those to share by chance?
I have something to share. Let me see. What do I got here? Well, it's just on my Telegram. Let's pull up some. There's got to be something about this job. Oh, no, yeah, I do have something to share. My bad. Let's go ahead and share it. This is a great little chart to demonstrate to you guys what it is the hell we're talking about. So let's pull this up, the screen. Here we go. Stock market news. Hopefully you guys can see this. The JOLTS. That's a data set about job openings and losses. Just shocked the system, right? So openings plunged. Actually, that number I think we saw yesterday. And then here's the big highlight from today. U.S. has more unemployed people than job openings for the first time since April 2021. So it's been 4 years, over 4 years, since we've had this bad of a jobs situation, right? So this kind of explains what shows the openings and turnover survey. Okay, it tracks all these things related to unemployment. This is interesting because it comes after June and July delivered the largest 2-month negative payroll revision. So remember, they revised those numbers down. We talked about that ad nauseum. And that was our thesis as to why Powell was going to cut rates. And so, you know, this just solidifies it even further. These numbers coming out.
So this is pretty much saying that even if everybody who wanted a job, or everybody who doesn't have a job wanted a job, there isn't enough jobs out there for them to have. That's kind of the report.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So that's interesting to me because I this is data they've been looking at forever, but the fact that there's less jobs available than people that actually don't have jobs. First of all, those people aren't going to get jobs anyways. They're on government subsidy. They're lazy. They don't have a job for a reason. Number two, I thought there was going to be there's this big panic that, oh my gosh, if we do deportations of illegals, who's going to do the work? And now you're telling me there's less jobs available than the unemployed Americans in our country. So that's kind of interesting. It seems like mainstream media was wrong about that as well. But, this is, for those, it's always bad to root against people out there, the working people, whatever. Hopefully you have a job if you're watching this. But this is another point that probably leads to rate cuts here this month, which is going to help the markets.
Well, the one point I would take issue to is there are definitely jobs that exist that Americans just won't do. Like Americans, you will not get Americans picking fruits in the fields for 12 hours a day in the burning hot sun. Americans just don't do it. Because why would they? Where they can just go on like government, whatever. They go, oh, I'm disabled. If you're really lazy, you're really uneducated, you don't want to work, and you can get the money, you can get the government to give you money. You don't have to go into the fields. So there's definitely jobs that Americans won't do. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, look, the reason why I think this is happening It's no surprise because this is what the Fed engineered. Let's like rewind to COVID times, okay? So we all know the economy went into total shock. You know, third of working people had to stop working to like prevent themselves from getting COVID. We can debate whether that was worthwhile or not, knowing now what COVID was just basically a bad flu, but never mind. So that, so the Fed had to respond to the fact that no one was working. So they dropped the interest rates, and then the government starts printing, and handing out. Literally, we were getting sent checks, $600 checks around COVID time. One reason why the market pumped at that time. So anyway, so that caused massive inflation because they gave out way too much money. They printed way too much money. They dropped interest rates to near zero for way too long, and they caused it to a whole bunch of inflation, as was expected. Okay, so what does the Fed do at that time? They have to raise the rates, make money tighter, make the money supply tighter, harder to get a loan, harder to get a home, harder to buy a home, harder to get a mortgage, right? And what this ultimately does then, it contracts the real economy because that trickles down into various sectors, right? Like the real estate market's been frozen for the past 3 years essentially because no one wants to get out of their previous house, get in a new one, blah, blah. So the Fed did exactly what it intended to do. Raise the rates after it caused a bunch of inflation, froze the job market, caused inflation to then go down. So because that's the point of this. And now they're at a turning point. Now they have to cut the rates to get us out of the shitty position that they put us in now with the bad jobs. So we beat inflation, but now we got bad jobs. So what do? You cut the rates, revive the economy. Maybe inflation creeps back up. Probably does over time. Nothing too significant, I don't think. And we get the economy back on a solid footing. What this means for you guys in the financial markets is happy joy. Easy money coming into the system, quantitative easing. Money flows now into risk assets, Bitcoin, cryptos, etc., even gold. So that's the story. That's what happened. The Fed's at a turning point. And again, the only question in my mind is 25 basis point cut or 50.
Right. Also, you want the market to think we're only getting a 25 point, because then if we get a 25 point, we still probably have green candles. But if we get a 50, it's absolutely explosive. And don't forget, when the interest rate comes down, that means the money market, the APR that they can earn, you got a little bit of an echo from your microphone. The APR that they can possibly earn when just sitting in the money market goes down as well, which means that the trillions of dollars in the money markets could slowly find their way into other investments as the appetite or the incentive to continue to hold money markets as that return continues to dwindle with the lower interest rates gets them to move from that position into hopefully Bitcoin, hopefully stocks, hopefully risk on assets. So that's all coming. There's trillions of dollars in the money market that will flee and look for better investment opportunities when those interest rates do come down. Inevitably,
my own financial advisor hasn't hit me up and said, "Hey, time to transition your portfolio." I'm not in any fixed income stuff, by the way. I already did that like a year ago. But that's what's happening around the country right now as we speak. Financial advisors are hitting up their clients and saying, "Hey, if you're in a money market, if you just got money sitting there, it's earning your 4, 5, 6%. I think we're at like 4.5% in the money market, so nothing, barely beating inflation anyway." But if you're conservative, you had your money in the money market for some stupid reason, now these folks are going to be told by their financial advisor, you have to move it out. Now, whether they move that directly into Bitcoin, crypto, I don't know. But hey, look, strategy is about to be included in the S&P 500 according to Bloomberg reports. So, if you're just in an index fund tracking the S&P 500, you're going to get some exposure to strategy and thereby indirect exposure to Bitcoin. So, I mean, it's happening. It's all happening. I do think this is the start. I don't look. Is today the day that it all runs to $130,000 with no ups and downs in between? No, probably not. But over the next month, we could well be at $130,000 Bitcoin in a month from now. That's completely within the realm of reason, based on these rate cuts which are happening in 12 days.
Yeah, and if you've been following along, here is the Bitcoin chart. The Wyckoff indicators from Todd Butterfield signaled a sell at 123,800. Gave a buy at 112,000, and then gave an additional buy on this reversal here around $110,600. The theory here is that those are major buying opportunities from being oversold, but Elliott Wave does say that you could look for a relief rally to around $117,000. This is the same thing we've been saying off these lows, that the Elliott wave downtrend has ended. We get a relief rally to 117, and that will be the decision-making point. If you can break above the 117.5 level, then we continue upward and onward towards our goal of 130 to $135,000. If we get rejected here, then you do come down once again and revisit these levels, spooking people out that are afraid that these lows give away. Nonetheless, if you've been following along, you got a good sell, you got some good buys, and let's see what happens as we head towards $117,000 Bitcoin, and let's see how Ethereum wants to keep acting. On the run today, Bitcoin dominance is following suit and going red, which is great. That means Ethereum and the altcoins are outperforming, even with Bitcoin going higher. That is what we need. Holy cow, we've been saying this forever. And it finally started to happen this past month as Ethereum absolutely ripped and roared from our buy over the past couple months. But we need Ethereum to go. Get above the $5,000 mark and make things exciting again. Make altcoins great again. Make Pulse Chain moon again. And right now, Ethereum is here just under $4,500. Continues to consolidate. The longer this consolidates in this range, you're building up a lot of pressure. Getting out a lot of weak hands. The companies are buying. And the valve will be released. And we will head towards the target of 5350. So what do you think, Crypto Armorer? What's the timing? I guess you just kind of talked about it. You don't really have an opinion on timing. You just think we're working our way higher, and the macro fundamentals will lead us higher over time, the remainder of this year.
Well, I mean, my sort of unofficial opinion is within 30 days we will be above $5,000 Ethereum. Right? That gives us plenty of time. Finish out this consolidation. We just got these bad job numbers. The rate cut is all but guaranteed. Okay, the rate cut comes in. Is it 25 basis point? Even if it's 25, I think we get a little jump off of that. 50 basis point, we really have a 10% day. And then you're above 5,000 at that point. It's not that hard, right, to get from 4,500 to 5,000 as it is. So we're going to get there. We're going to grind higher. 30 days, I think, is a very reasonable, maybe even a too conservative of a target based on all the macros going on. And the rate cut that's coming. So, yeah, it's going to happen. It's an inevitability, guys. If you've been watching the channel, hopefully you've been hanging on. You haven't cheated out your bags. Even alts are showing signs of life. Even like a handful of bags that I'm in are like up a little bit today. Things are like looking a little more positive compared to, say last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and Thomas Lee, he's been copying a lot of my predictions. But I will say that I'm copying now one of his predictions, and he's been talking about 5,500 ETH by the end of September. Our measured move here that we've had for this bull flag was a target of 5,350. So right around there, he thinks it can get a little bit higher. That is about a 20% move higher from here. So it doesn't take much for Ethereum to go 20%. That's why it can happen rapidly. Obviously, you would need probably the rate cut or something to go on with traditional markets. But if the Ethereum Strategic Reserve companies keep doing what they're doing, and there's any of these headwinds turn into tailwinds, I mean, Ethereum can get explosive again. I mean, zoom out here, guys. Look what happened since this buy. We gave this buy down here, all the way down here, May 3rd. May 3rd. So in just 4 months, look at that chart. That is just a parabolic run from like $1,500 up to $4,500. Remember, when we were down here in the doldrums, especially here, but when we're given the buy here, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I will be happy if Ethereum just goes to 4,000 this cycle. They're saying Ethereum is going to not even break all-time highs this cycle. And here we are just a couple months later, $4,500, now complaining because we want Ethereum to go even higher. So momentum and morale can switch so quickly in crypto, and that's how you make the gains.
That's it, man. I mean, the fear and greed, we went from very fearful and just, please, crypto gods, I'm begging you for just a meager run to $4,000. I don't even need it to break all-time highs. I'll be so thankful, crypto gods. Then, of course, you get there and you're like, oh, shit.
You're like, wait a second. We need another 3x.
The greed part of the grade comes in. No. This needs to go to $12,000 ETH now, or I won't be happy. So that's the fear and the greed working for you. Look, have a plan, have a strategy, stick with it. That's how you prevent those emotions from getting control. Getting in control of your decisions, your trading decisions. You end up round tripping your bag. But yeah, we're slowly creeping back in the greed phase. I think we really need ETH to genuinely breach $5,000. It was a weird, what was it? I was back it was in Tulum, and Ethereum ran to like, some people said it ran to 5,000. I didn't see $5,000 anywhere.
I didn't either.
So maybe on like one random shitty exchange it like went to $5,001. But on the aggregators, it was like 4,900, which I know is all-time highs. But psychologically, there's something a lot more powerful about that $5,000 mark than just barely above the 4,800 to 49 something. And I was happy. I was celebrating in my head, and I drank a beer even. But 5,000 is a lot more exciting than 4,900, and I think that then spurs the greed further. It spurs more buys in the ETH. It spurs altcoins coming to life again. So we really need to hit that $5,000 level. I think it's going to happen within the next few weeks or a month. So we're good here, guys. Just hang on. And
it's just a big mental. It's a big mental barrier. Just like Bitcoin 100,000, and we fell a little bit short. Just like everybody's calling for 250,000 Bitcoin, or the people who are bullish call for 250,000. That's why I've stuck with 244. Inevitably, you usually fall short.
You don't get too greedy now.
Yeah, inevitably you fall short of these big mental barriers. A lot of people put limit sells up there, like, hey, what if I'm on vacation? I want to sell, and they do like exactly at 250. It's just like when we're trading. When we give a trade setup on an asset, and say it's whatever, $9.95, and if it goes to $10, we want to be long. You don't put the order right at 10. You put it at like $9.99. You want to get ahead of the other people that are also loading limit orders right at the round numbers. A lot of people work in round numbers. It's the same thing with the unit bias of why Doge went so high and XRP went so high, because there's trillions of tokens, and people are like, oh my gosh, it's only 3 cents. Even though they don't understand market capitalization. Sometimes, in order to make gains in crypto, you got to dumb down yourself. You always see that S-curve, where the smartest people are in the middle. If you're super smart, you make the least in crypto. You need to be really dumb or really smart that you can dumb yourself down. You need to be on either side of that bell curve. That's who makes gains. If you're just super smart, I have buddies in traditional finance. They're still schlepping away in their offices, and they're making good salaries, but they still got to go in rush hour and everything else. And that's because when I told them about Bitcoin and NVIDIA and AMD and mining with gaming computers, there's like, well, fundamentally, it just doesn't sound like that's going to work out. I don't like the revenue stream. It doesn't have a good PE ratio. You did too much schooling. You conned yourself out of the gains. You conned yourself out of the lifestyle because you look too much at the textbooks. Look, educate yourselves, but realize sometimes you just got to go with the gut feeling, go with the momentum, and that's how you're early. These are the same people who are now in traditional finance who are coming on now at Bitcoin 100,000. Well, because now it is in our Kaya lessons and it is in our book, and Bitcoin's the digital gold and we can hedge it. Well, yeah, now you're 100x behind us. You don't even know what's going on. It's just hard.
Laughing at those guys. We're just laughing at them. It's that what your spiel just reminded me of. One of the truisms that I found, having been in the space for 8 years. It doesn't matter whether you yourself like the asset. Think about whether the crowd will like it, right? Will the crowd like this? Is the narrative exciting for the crowd? You yourself can be skeptical. Look, I've been a Bitcoin skeptic since 2017. I'm like, it's kind of pointless. Does anyone really use it? But that's like, I'm a gold skeptic too. I'm like, it's pointless, shiny rock. But we've all decided it's worth a lot. Same thing with Bitcoin. It's decided it's worth a lot. It's scarce. Okay, we need scarce assets because government prints money. Like, I get the thesis. But I'm a skeptic by heart, right? By nature. But it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what everybody else thinks. So, remove your ego, get over your own opinions, and start to think about, okay, what is everyone else going to say about this asset? It's not an easy thing to do necessarily in investing. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The smartest people have talked themselves out of Bitcoin because it just doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be worth so much, Nick. It just shouldn't. No one uses it. What's the point of it? We already have Venmo. So you talk yourself out of it. You go ahead and work your 9-to-5 job. And I'll be sitting here laughing, chilling on the beach, drinking pina coladas at age, 40 as I'm semi-retired. Your choice, bro. So, that's it. I think people, get outside yourself, understand what the crowd is going to say about it. What you think is really not that relevant.
Yep. Now, I'm not going to show all these altcoin charts just yet because I don't want to jinx it, but we are seeing minor green across the board in Pulse Chain, Emit Finance back above $1, Fuck 9-to-5 back over $1 million, Surf is green today, PTGC is green today, Rome is green today, Top Hat, Teddy Bear is green. Seeing a little green. We're not going to look at the charts yet. It's too early. But, there is opportunities there. I think a lot of these assets are very undervalued. And when PLS goes up, it helps these assets catch green candles. It helps appetite on that network. Same applies for Solana. Same applies for BNB. And we are seeing a little more Pokemon stuff pop up. You know, we talked about it a little bit in yesterday's live show. I've been telling you about collectibles in these shows in passing a lot. All these are graded cards. I do content on Pokemon. I do content on VFriends. VFriends did a 5x after launch. You should have listened. But collectibles tend to go up when people have excess cash. And when do people have excess cash? When the crypto markets and the risk on asset markets are ripping. That's what spurs that momentum. So it is interesting that people are starting to talk about Pokemon now. Pokemon has been on an uptrend since Bitcoin bottomed out. Pokemon has been on an uptrend for 1 or 2 years. But maybe this Pokemon surge, people talking about collectibles, maybe this is the onset of retail getting back into the financial markets, back into crypto, back into the altcoins. Let's see if that happens. And inevitably, be careful, guys, on what you hold. Modern sealed products and modern cards top out when? Historically, they've topped out every time Bitcoin tops out. So your old stuff, your old sealed products, they'll continue to go up into the right because people can't get it. It is scarce. But the modern stuff that you're finding in Target and Walmarts, they go up. When Bitcoin tops and quantitative easing turns to quantitative tightening and money gets tight, those modern sets that have been printed to oblivion lose value rapidly. So keep that in mind. There is a couple projects on Solana that are doing well in the collectible sector. One of them is called Crypto Collect. What's interesting about that is this could go down as one of our biggest blunders. We actually talked to Collector Crypt very early in the process before anybody else did, but you know, it was back in 2023. We couldn't really raise funds. They needed to delay things. We lost touch with them, and we were trying to invest $100,000 into this company. Well, they just launched their token, and it shot from zero to it's a $550 million market cap on Solana right now. Absolutely brutal, gut-wrenching. We were going to get it at 450,000 market cap. Oh, it hurts because it is two of my passions coming together, crypto and collectibles, and fell through the cracks just because they said, hey, we're going to just delay stuff. We'll get back in touch. We never heard from them. They never heard from us. We actually helped create some of their token economics. We did some bug testing. They sent us some free cards. We did some calls with them. So very unfortunate. But Collector Crypt, if you are watching this, and CEO, if you are watching this, maybe we can get involved. Maybe we can do marketing. Maybe we can come on and help on advisory. Maybe we can come on as an employee capacity. I don't know. But man, to be so early on that, talking with those guys.
For collectibles. That's crazy. I mean, you know, what's mind-boggling about that one is projects, recently launched projects, particularly ones that did pre-sale, and I don't know if they actually did the pre-sale or not, but I assume they did something, have really languished and floundered and done absolutely nothing. So to have one that like rocketed from 0 to 500 million is like just boggles the mind. I guess it's that 1 in 1,000 project that just bucked the trend and just, you know, everything lined up for it. You know, we had a couple of those last cycle, you know, that did extremely well for us, that just everything, you know, kind of struck gold with them, even though, you know, there were questions about them or flaws, you could say, but still, you know, the alchemy was there and it just ran to crazy heights. But yeah, congrats to those guys. I'm pissed we dropped the ball there. I have no idea what happened. We were talking to them and then I guess, you know, it was bear market and we lost touch.
Yeah, it was back in like November of 2023. So I think they pushed off the raise and they said they'll circle back. And unfortunately, they just didn't. You know, we didn't fall within their realm and or whatever it may be. But yeah, massive thing. And how is it doing so well? The reason it popped up on my feed is like I saw they did an interview with Thread Guy and Rand Nooner and all these other things. So you know, obviously they had to do some kind of raise to afford all those people. All those guys do not do anything for free. They got tokens. They got money. Based on the chart, they probably didn't get tokens because those guys are serial dumpers. But they were all over the place. And congrats to them, doing very well. Unfortunate because, like I said, it was a passion project, and we were talking to them, and we wanted to put 100K into that thing. But, you know, you win and you lose. And maybe we can get back in contact with them, get involved some way, and bring some alpha to you guys. But we'll see.
I'll tell you what, too. I mean, does this mean that the pre-sale market is showing signs of life again? Does this mean that pre-sales are not toxic anymore? You know, it's been for the past 2 years that you can't really touch pre-sales because, you know, many of them just simply don't launch. They take your money, they do whatever with it, and then, like, you don't really hear from them again. They never launch, and they're like, oh, you know, we failed. Okay, great. So a total loss on that kind of investment. The other kind is does launch, but no one really wants to buy the token because they know that investors had it and bought it at lower price. They know those investors are going to sell on to the later investors, and people are staying away from that kind of investment. At least they had been, you know, as the meme cycle was going, the meme season was going strong. maybe this is the start of pre-sale season again. I don't know. We'll have to keep our finger on the pulse. We actually have a lot of experience in that sector of the market. We've done very, very well in that sector of the market when that sector was, running. So we'll keep our finger on the pulse, and we'll try not to miss the next 1000x. Try to get you guys involved with that.
Oh man, it's sad because it's not like we said no. It's like we did multiple calls before they had anything. I literally looked at my Solana address. I have a physical card that they sent me digitally that I could claim. And at the time it was like a $30 card. It's like a $100 card now, and they wanted me to play around with the platform. We found bugs for them. We did all this stuff, and
damn.
Like I said, they delayed the raise or whatever it was, and it's just unfortunate because I looked through that chat. I'm like, Jesus, 100 grand is what we wanted to invest. And that thing was going to launch at 450,000. Now it's at 450 million. That 100 grand would have been worth a shit ton of money.
Yeah, well, that's if everything lined up exactly. I mean,
right? That's true.
Grand,
that's true.
I don't know where we were going to get that 100 grand. I don't know where that number came from, but whatever. This is a story. Look, crypto is full of these stories, guys. We have countless of them. You have countless of them. Absolute runners that you knew about, didn't get involved with, or you did get involved with early, right? But then you sold it at 2x. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's plenty of those.
Yeah.
So crypto's full of missed opportunities. As long as you capture some of them, you will eventually do very well in this industry. We need alt season, though. I mean, that's the bottom line. We need alt season. I'm astonished that this thing could have done so well, given the market conditions that we're in. So we'll look into it more. But congrats to those guys. We can reach out and see maybe they want to come on the show or need some kind of marketing. But who knows? Look, it's great to see green in the market. It's great to have some positive stories. This is what we need, like some momentum coming back. We need to string together 3 or 4 or 5 days of green candles, and that's when people start really deploying capital again, and we can start blasting towards all-time highs.
What other stories do you have to share? I know you had a couple. And then, yeah, you're right. The thing is, too, alt season is a big proponent of people actually making gains, and then they can take off some of the profits and go into the next sector, go into the next token, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of green candles everywhere because people are making money, they're rotating to other things, they're holding long-term, they're doing, moon or dust bags and just holding supply off the market. That's what we need to see. That's how you have big altcoins runs. That's how you have big preseason or pre-sale runs. Is people like, okay, cool. I just made a huge gains on that. I took my initial out plus some profits. I'm letting the other tokens sit there and run, and that is the supply control by the community that drives prices higher over time. That's the diamond hand mentality we need back in the markets for us all to start having life-changing gains.
Well, not to cut this altcoin conversation short, but a story that jumped out at me this morning came out of Asia. So the Bitcoin strategic reserves have really been a U.S. phenomenon. Europe to some degree. I know there's Metaplanet, which is a Japanese company. But I do not believe that China's gotten seriously involved, nor other Asian countries. Up until now, Sora Ventures is an Asian-based fund, and they are raising now $1 billion for their Bitcoin treasury. They have already received a commitment of $200 million. So I have no doubt they'll hit that $1 billion. This is really the first time that the Bitcoin treasury company has moved into Asia, excluding Metaplanet. But you say Fang noted rising interest in Bitcoin treasury industries in the U.S. while efforts in Asia remain fragmented. So this is the really first one coming out of Asia. Will this be the start of more treasury companies based out of Asia? We don't talk about Asia enough. We don't talk about China enough, probably because we are not from there and it's not top of mind. But China moves the market almost as much as the U.S., right? And the Chinese monetary policy, they've actually been looser. We've really been the laggards there with having such tight monetary policy compared to Asia, particularly China and Europe. But China's economy is also in big trouble. If you read into what's been going on with their real estate bubble, or the implosion of the bubble, I should say, they now have to move into a much more easy monetary policy stance right alongside the U.S. And so it's, the world over, interest rates are coming down, era of easy money is returning. So it's not just the U.S., it's China as well. And my guess is you start to see more of these strategic reserve companies coming out of Asia, and probably even on the ETH side too. Why would they stop with Bitcoin, right? In fact, we saw Jack Ma do it just the other day. He bought 50 million of ETH through his family office or whatever. So don't sleep on Asia. They move the markets almost as much as the U.S. does, and we should probably talk about it more.
You know, the one article I want you to search on here, you probably can just find it on here if you hit the search icon, is, World Liberty Finance apparently blacklisted or froze some of Justin Sun's wallets because he was dumping so much of their token. And I know Justin Sun came back with a tweet. I didn't really fully read it, but I'm pretty sure he's probably saying, hey, this isn't a really good precedent if you're blacklisting my wallets. But yeah, that's interesting. I mean, talk about decentralization, centralization, is your money safe? The banking system's going to freeze your accounts. And then World Liberty Finance is freezing people's accounts for selling. That's interesting. I need to look deeper into it, but that just came to my mind because Justin Sun obviously is from Asia and kind of driving some of the Asian market. That's why Tron continues to remain so relevant.
Yeah, I obviously saw that news pop up on my feed. I'm looking for it now. That was big news yesterday and probably even today, where Justin Sun allegedly selling in some backdoor manner too, right? It wasn't just normal selling. It was some selling through Huobi HTX, which he owns. Perhaps selling. The allegation is he was actually selling tokens owned by other investors who just deposited money onto Huobi. So shady stuff. Justin Sun's known for shady stuff, so it's not out of it's not out of character for him. But it is concerning. I mean, look, if with the flip of a button, the owner of a coin can just freeze your wallet, how decentralized is that? It's not at all, obviously. So, look, maybe we got to strike a balance between scams and frauds, I guess allegedly Justin Sun was trying to perpetrate, and then that extreme control. Maybe there's a balance there somewhere, but yeah, it's a little bit of a disturbing story across the board.
Yeah, here's Justin Sun's side of the story, kind of the woes me, saying, hey, I invested like everybody else, I can do what I want to do. But, I think the bigger end of the story, I need to look into what World Liberty Finance said, is because, like you said, Justin Sun is the founder, not only of it has his own wallets, but has the foundation wallets of Tron, and also has the wallets of a centralized exchange. What is it that he owns? Huobi or one of those?
Huobi.
Yeah, so it's is that what he was doing? Was he selling tokens that were supposed to be for market making of Huobi or for the listing fee of Huobi? Was he selling Tron Foundation tokens that were supposed to use as collateral for their USDL, for their stablecoin to mint it on the Tron network? Or was he just selling his own personal wallet tokens? I think the personal wallet tokens, unless you had some NDA verbal agreement, then you're just a prick, is for him to sell. He can do whatever he wants. But if it was tokens that were for a listing on Huobi or market making of Huobi or marketing of Huobi, well, now that's a gray area. Or if it was for tokens that were supposed to be used as collateral to mint the stablecoin on Tron network, well, now you're beyond the gray area and you're probably in the black area, and that's probably a no-go and why you would get blacklisted. So if anybody watching knows more details on this, that would be great. Again, it doesn't affect us all that much. We're not really into World Liberty Finance. We're not really into Tron, but it's more just a perspective of trying to find the limits of what we believe is supposed to be decentralized finance in the next financial system, and just at the click of a button, a wallet with millions of dollars, I think it's $9 million in value, can just be shut off. One of our biggest fears is that you're not going to be able to access the money in your bank. Fractionalized reserve, 10 to 1, you can't get your money if there's a bank run. Or, hey, should you even trust the bank with putting it in the lockbox at the bank? Because if something happens, are they even going to let you go in there and get your stuff? Probably not. And now that fear is kind of becoming a reality in this digital finance world that we see here with World Liberty Finance on the biggest stage.
This is why I stay away from these newly launched tokens, man. I mean, just so much can go wrong. Oftentimes, so much does go wrong. And, even if this didn't happen, right, what you have is millionaires and billionaires who bought in way before you at valuations you could never get, super cheap tokens, and they're just all floating on the market, dumping them on the heads of unsuspecting poor investors who are just like, I like Donald Trump. I think World Liberty Finance is going to change the world. Newbies essentially getting wrecked by the likes of Justin Sun, who's an absolute shark. So stay away from these coins. Look, I get it. People want to take risks. They want to try to turn their money into more money, right, through the financial markets. But there's smart risk and there's dumb risk. Dumb risk is buying into these kind of coins, these newly launched massive coins, There's a lot of insiders. You're not an insider. You're going to get wrecked. I'm not saying you got to turn around and go into the meme coin casino and try to outsmart everyone over there and become your own insider. But maybe there's a happy medium there. I mean, what I like to do is I like to find coins that maybe they're newly launched, but they've got good token distribution. They're low market cap. Yes, price can go down, but you can also do a 10x. World Liberty Finance is unlikely to do a 10x from here. It's going to be very hard. It's going to take a long time. And in the course of that time, Ethereum will have also done a 10x at a lower risk profile. So I just stay away from these new coins. Stay away from these big brands. I don't know. I think there's much better ways to make money in crypto. Try to get in early with, a good project that's undervalued. Yes, there's risk, but the upside is there too. So I stay away from all this junk.
Yeah, here's World Liberty Finance at 18.3 cents. The other day we were talking about it around 20 to 24 cents. Now I will say, we talked about Collector Crypt doing absolutely amazing for pre-sales. World Liberty Finance is still on a 4x for pre-sailers. So no wonder Justin Sun is trying to sell. It's been a bear market, and he made 5x on his money, and he put in millions and millions of dollars. So, it makes sense why he's selling. But maybe another notch towards, all this hectic chaos around World Liberty Finance. The people in the pre-sale are still up 4x on their money, which is pretty solid. And maybe this is the turning point for some pre-sales and investment opportunities. And we're going to keep our eye on that, see what kind of opportunities we can get, because we were able to get in very early to some major 50x plays, 100x plays, 200x plays last cycle due to the fact that we can bring something to the table. We have the DAO group of surf holders. So we have a private group of people that are willing to invest in pre-sales or early onset assets. We have advisory services that we can also offer for free as part of getting in early. We have marketing services we can offer for free as part of getting early. So when you have these kind of things, that's how you get in early to here. Obviously, we're never going to be able to get you guys the same deals as Justin Sun or CZ, but we're kind of insiders in our own light. We provide some value, and that's how we do find some of these big gains in the pre-sale market, and maybe that'll come back this cycle as well. That would be nice to see, as we had some big winners.
I think it will. If I think back to previous cycles and even like the mini cycles that we had, where you kind of like you're in the midst of a bearish period or bullish period of the bear market, and you can have these little outperformance periods. You want to be early to that, though. You want to be kind of at the forefront of that. You don't want to be coming in the pre-sale game like 6 months in. You want to be like a little bit early to them. That's where we've done the biggest gains. So we will, we'll keep our ear to the streets. We got groups with various launch pads. They have deals they're raising for in the private rounds. You can get in early. Yes, it's risk, sure, but who knows? Maybe it's pre-sale season. We'll have to monitor this a little bit more closely here.
It's nice to see some alts green. Again, I'm not going to show any altcoin charts because I don't want to jinx it. But RLC back above $1.25, back to $1.28. That thing was as low as 85 cents. Quickly turning around off the low. And as you scroll through here, you see these minor green candles starting to pop up. Floki trying to drop a zero again, get back to the 10,000 instead of the 9,000 mark. That would be good to see. And Ethereum still here at 4,344, giving up some of the gains it had earlier today. So let's see what happens. Let's see if this consolidation continues or if we can finally break out to the upside and allow things to get more exciting. When things are moving, that's when we can get the alpha. That's when people hit up our DMs, and then we can pass on some information to you guys, and that's when we get the quick and easy gains in these markets that we're all looking for.
Yeah, it's already happening a little bit more. I've noticed that, I think people were off in August, ourselves included. We weren't, grinding away necessarily in August, doing family vacations and so on, as was everyone else for a lot of other people. But all of a sudden, come early September, my inbox is full of different opportunities. It could be marketing deals. It could be an AMA that someone wants to invite us to. It could be a company that wants us to utilize their technology for market making on the Surf token. These are all real examples, by the way. So markets come back to life. It's September. Kids are back in school. Summer's over. Time to grind away so we don't miss on the next 1000x opportunity.
Any other news articles or anything else you guys want to go over today? The comment section was pretty quiet, so we don't have any questions, comments, or concerns. At least I don't see any popped up on here. Maybe we'll have them on Twitter, but we can answer those later. And, over the weekend, we're just going to try to be more active, get some more short-form videos, get some of these deals done, get some inside scoops on some altcoin gems, and see if we can get the gains rolling once again here on Crypto Paradise.
One update I'll leave you guys with before we jump off. Frontier Fund continues to kill it. You know, what's great about having been in Frontier Fund is we're not so reliant necessarily on like these deals to come in or an altcoin to pop 10x, and those are great to have, and we'll keep hunting for them. But we're not reliant on them because Frontier Fund is printing like 1.5 to 1.7% returns for us daily, even after their fees. So that's daily returns coming to like 1.7%. You know, we don't have to lift a finger. So, you know, shout out to those guys doing a great job. Let's hope they can continue their string of successful days here. But
we pushed that very hard on you guys, saying, hey, you need 400,000 surf or more to be involved in that. Those people got involved, raised $700,000 in that fund. And, you know, we were selling it as, hey, their target is 2%, but let's just say it gets 1% after fees per day. That's 15% monthly returns for you guys that you can use it for compounding, passive income, and you're not relying on market go up. They're making money on shorts, on longs, on everything, primarily Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, a little bit of BNB, and they continue to do the thing. Right now, after fees, like you said, it's like 1.5 or 1.7%. So obviously, they still got half a month to go, but they're doing well. And if they can achieve that 2% target, wow, we would love that. We would love that a lot.
Yeah, don't sleep on those guys. Get your 400,000 surf to get into round 3. Round 3 will be in like a month or 6 weeks from now.
It's a lot cheaper to buy surf on the dip when Pulse Chain is down than it'll be when Pulse Chain does a 2x and surf is 2x or 3x or 4x. Now you're trying to chase 400,000 surf because the Frontier Fund killed it again. There's no guarantees, but this is the second round. We looked at the historical data of their previous 3 rounds. We told you why to get involved, and only surf holders can get in. It's exclusive to surf holders. So I hope they keep doing well because that just means we'll get to brag about it. Everybody in our community will be winning. Also, the Crypto Paradise as a company keeps some of those profits that can be used for marketing, expanding the brand, paying overhead, buying and burning surf. So everybody wins, and hopefully you guys listen and start accumulating 400,000 surf on the dip because it will pay off in a big way in the future.
Oh man, I'm getting some FOMO. We didn't have anything going commonplace. We're relying on the digital crowd to keep us going. So don't sleep on Crypto Paradise, gang. By the way, we will be on X in a few hours here. We're going to be doing a Shill and Chill over there at 1 p.m. Eastern. So we're getting back to those on Fridays as well. Friday Shill and Chill back in action. So we'll see you guys on X in a few hours. And until then, see you on the beach.